fairly relaxed right now. The dog just took me for a walk. And it's funny. I mentioned that the dog took me for a walk, and the guy that I was talking to says, "Oh yeah, does she carry a bag?" I had never thought about it that way.
Well, okay. Let's see. I think we're live. Awesome. Yes, we are. Let me see the comments going. Yes. My name is Dr. Sharnael Wolverton-Sehon. Super excited to have a Robert Steele back with us and kind of catch up on where things are. Looks like he's got a few missing books, Mr. Bookman. They're all like, so you're moving, I guess.
Right? I'm going on this national tour, and I'll probably move down to Atlanta to supervise the bus reconfiguration and the wraps starting the 17th of April. So I'm moving out completely so that my wife can renovate the entire basement. And depending on what comes out of the tour, I may move to Texas or Florida or I hope not, Washington, D.C. But the bottom line is everything's been packed up. The furniture goes in a week or so. And then I'm a wandering Ronin.
Well, it has been a while since I've seen you. I missed you in Vegas, but I did get to sit next to Cynthia during the movie, who is delightful. I was like, oh my God, fangirl sitting next to this woman. She is just, she just
carries. Let me just tell you, this is a woman with giant balls. And when she was elected to Congress, her first term, they invented electronic machine fraud to run her out of office on her 7th term. She was the first one to be defeated by electronic voting machine fraud in Georgia. But when she was elected, mostly by black people in Georgia, she went to the Ku Klux Klan leaders, arguably white supremacists, and she said, "Boys, I'm your congressman. What can I do for you?"
Oh my gosh.
This is the kind of woman Cynthia McKinney is. She is a uniter.
Yeah, you could just, she has such a presence, and she's humble and just,
She's what I would call a grande dame or a great lady. She's absolutely one of the most elegant, important women in America today. And she's pro-Trump, but she's not a Republican. We're both against the Republican Party, just as we are against the Democratic Party. And we're all about putting the people back in power, just like Donald Trump is.
Yes. And she's so unassuming, but anyway, so what do you see is going on in DC? Because, so many things have happened. It's been, I think, a month since I've had you on the show. Thank you for coming back. Tell me what's happening.
I don't have direct knowledge other than to say that DC appears to be operating normally. Most of the National Guard is gone, but there are still some special places like the White House and Capitol Hill that are essentially indoor prisons. What's her name? Amazing Polly, one of my favorites, said that Washington is the largest open air prison camp on the planet. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. I haven't seen rescued children. I haven't seen arrests. I haven't seen anything tangible. But I had dinner 3 times last week with Juan Ossoven, not his real name, very high level executive doer at the presidential level. And he has assured me that Trump is coming back in April, that everything is on track. And he ordered me to start the tour a month early. And nobody gives me orders, but when Juan makes a suggestion, I follow it. So instead of starting on the 15th of June, we're starting on the 17th of May. And the reason we're doing that is to be in Dallas with Mike Flynn and Sidney Powell if they want us to have them join them. But more importantly, we're doing a national tour, and we will be at Mount Rushmore on the 4th of July. And I would not be at all surprised to see Donald Trump and John F. Kennedy Jr. show up at the same time.
Are you kidding? That would be, wow. That would be very, very interesting. Yeah. So
we're discussing the bus wrap design, and it's going to be revealed in a day or so. And I think at my board of directors meeting this morning, I think that everyone agreed that it's a good idea. We have a picture of Mount Rushmore that has space to add John F. Kennedy on the left and Donald Trump on the right. And so look for 5 to 6 buses wrapped that way going down the highway for the next 90 days.
Well, if anybody deserves to be on a mountain, those two guys would certainly be an amazing addition to what's been going on.
And plus, the snowflakes can't argue with John F. Kennedy.
Yeah. I just it's interesting how I'm getting a lot of mixed intel saying like the military is not in control, that it's scary out there, that it's been compromised.
Well, let me tell you what I've been told. First off, there are about a third of the generals that don't get it. They're chicken shits. They want to have new elections. They don't want to take responsibility. These losers should never have been promoted beyond company commander, captain. Most generals have won a beauty contest as colonels, and then once you get higher up, a lot of times you have to make deals with the devil, to include in certain circles sodomy and masochistic neo-Nazi kinds of things. It's very bad. But what Juan told me was the deal's been made at the highest levels, and you've got some extraordinary generals out there like Charles Flynn, who is Mike Flynn's brother. I expect him to come back from the Pacific to be chief of staff of the Army. I don't want to say worship because it's the wrong word, but I hold Mike Flynn in the very highest regard. And there is no question in my mind, but that everything is on track the way it should be. We don't need new elections. In fact, I did a beautiful cartoon. I designed cartoons, and then I have a great cartoonist that executes them. There's a cartoon of these generals around a campfire, and they're surrounded by all these deplorables holding pitchforks and baseball bats draped in the American flag, with Trump and me and Sydney and Mike looking on. And they're looking at a checklist as options. Option A, Trump. Option B, treason. Option C, new elections. And it's crossed out in red. And what Juan told me at dinner, he said, we're not going to have new elections. We have all the proof we need. We are going to announce a decision. We're going to make it right. And then we're going to start over. I do see new elections for House and Senate seats because many of those were stolen. In Virginia, for example, I think Senator Warner stole the election from Gade, who was an amputee and a veteran. Gade was running at 57%. Because Southern Virginia is all red. And it's only Northern Virginia that's snowflakes and pussies and carpetbaggers. So I think we're in good shape here. Bottom line for me is I believe in God. I believe in America. I believe in Trump. And I believe in faith, family, and freedom. And I believe in constitutional sheriffs. And that's what's going to happen this summer. All of this stuff is going to come together. And the 4th of July at Mount Rushmore is going to be epic.
Well, going back to the tour situation, is this just like a one-time thing, or you see this being like a yearly or a bigger or multi?
Let me tell you, when I first raised money for movies, I mean, I never thought I would raise $300 in 3 weeks with one post, but I did. And I don't need GoFundMe. I mean, I've got a big enough network now, so people are willing to pay $1,000 each to be listed as a co-producer on the 4 movies. And so when I commissioned the 4 movies, The Cult of Lucifer has already been published. Cynthia McKinney is going to publish in early April the hashtag Unrig Elections. We've got Peter Antico in Hollywood, who is doing a good Hollywood person under Sean Stone supervision. That's Sean Stone of Oliver Stone genealogy.
Love Sean.
He's doing Wall Street Treason and Crime, which is going to be epic. I mean, Wall Street has never before been credibly accused of treason, and we're going to do that. And I got a great cartoon of Wall Street rats eating widows and orphans and cops and firefighters and nurses. Okay, Wall Street is going down. Now, that's not to say Wall Street is going to lose value, because once you take the crime out of Wall Street, the stock market will triple. Okay, because entrepreneurs and investors will come back in. And then the 4th movie is directed by Sean Stone on Satanic Empire, and that will talk about how this is the glue, the pedophilia, child murder, torture, blackmail related to child murder and torture. Jeffrey Epstein times 50. That's the 4th movie that's been funded. Now, the common theme across the 3 main movies is U.S. government and state and local government complicity in rigging the election, in Wall Street treason and crime, and in satanic pedophilia. We are going to burn down the federal, state, and local governments that have enabled crime as part of doing business. And now we're going to do a 5th movie on the tour, and I'll answer your question in a second. Sasha Stone is going to have his own bus. He's going to film the whole tour. We're going to live stream every event. This is all free to the public. And he's going to have a drone overhead that will do a 360 shot of America as the whole tour goes on. And every time we cross a straight line, we'll shoot it and send it to the governor. We're inviting every governor to welcome us, and I think half of them will and half of them won't. And the half that don't will be put out of office within 2 years. So every mayor in every city we stop in is being invited to welcome us, and half of them will and half of them won't. The ones that don't will be put out of office within 2 years, in my humble opinion. We started out thinking that we would get 1,000 people per stop. Now we're looking at 15,000 in St. Louis, Missouri. And it's looking to me like we're going to be in the 2,500 to 5,000, 10,000 range in most stops. And it is now going to be a multi-year tour. Cynthia and I have decided that we're going to do this tour every single year through 2024. But our overriding objective this year is to stop all donations to every single politician, including Rand Paul. And let me single Rand Paul out because I think he's a hypocrite from Kentucky. And he's not even from Kentucky. He's a carpetbagger who got elected from Kentucky. I love Ron Paul. Rand Paul, I was in his office asking him to sponsor #UnRigElection in 2017, and his staff refused to. They said, there's no money in this. We'll only do it if President Trump asks us to. Rand Paul failed to rise to the challenge. Had he supported #UnRigElection reform legislation in 2017, he would be a viable candidate for president in 2024. He failed the test. So we have a tagline, #UnRig Stop the Green. And we've put dollar signs on each side of green so morons don't confuse it with the climate change. You have to be stupid to give money to any politician from any party, but particularly from the Republican and Democratic parties, who says they're going to change the system. That's a lie, and they know it's a lie. So until legislation is passed, not only at the federal level, but across every single state, that ends all of the travesties that we saw with election fraud this past 2020, and until that reform is passed, so we get paper ballots, counted publicly on site with exit polls, we get instant runoff. Every libertarian and every independent and every small party person needs to have equal access, a fair playing field to run for Congress. They have to have free, equal media time, no corporate money. And my goal and Cynthia's goal ultimately is that in 2022, no single party can dominate either chamber of Congress. So death to the Republican Party, death to the Democratic Party. I want Congress to consist of libertarians, independents, Trumpers, and Sandinistas. I got to tell you, Cynthia's important. Even though she's a pro-Trumper, she's a former Democrat who was a Green Party candidate for Congress, who is now an independent, and she is refusing Sandinista requests that she start a new party to be the new Democratic Party. She's saying people, not parties, authentic, inclusive, and truthful. So this campaign is about no money for any politician until #UnRigElection reform is passed. And then there should be no need for money to any politician because we should start electing citizens, not politicians. I want to terminate career politicians, and I want to terminate career congressional staff, most of whom are gay and twisted and controlled by satanic influences. This is just a cesspool that needs cleaning up. And it's the same at the state level. Most state legislatures and most state governors' offices have been captured. And I like to say that most, not all, elected and appointed officials have been bribed, blackmailed, or brainwashed to betray the public trust. So this tour is about bringing us all back together. Now, we are fortunate to have Sheriff Richard Mack, who I have called the second most important man in America after Donald Trump, as a core member of the board of directors and the traveling crew. Sheriff Mack is recruiting sheriffs from across the country who are willing to stand up the way he and Sheriff Brad Rogers have stood up to federal, state, and local encroachment that is unconstitutional. I'll give you just two examples. Sheriff Brad Rogers had an Amish farmer that was being harassed by the FDA. Now, this Amish farmer has been doing Amish farming. His family's been doing it for hundreds of years, and it works. The FDA was trying to come in and impose government regulations, which is code for putting the Amish farmers out of business. They're just trying to free up their land for big agriculture to buy them out and take them over and start feeding us pesticides and Monsanto and so forth. So the farmer, after trying to collaborate, FDA was saying, we're going to make you do a grand jury. You're going to be legally complied to provide all these items. He finally went to his sheriff, his elected sheriff, who is the highest constitutional authority in the county. And he said, Sheriff, can you help me? These guys are bullying me. They're abusing their authority. Sheriff Mack sent one email to the FDA. He said, you show your face in this county, I'm going to arrest your ass and you're going to spend the rest of your life in jail. A week later, the farmer got a quit claim letter from the FDA.
Wow.
Now, a second example, Sheriff Richard Mack. A bridge was washed out that was keeping the farmers from sending their kids to school. They were having to drive like 25 to 50 miles to get their kids to school through another bridge that had not been washed out. And the Army Corps of Engineers and the U.S. Department of the Interior were saying, well, we'll get to that bridge in our own good time. The county, after 9 months, finally said, we can't do this for another year. So they said, we're going to repair this. And the Corps of Engineers, the Department of Interior threatened to put people in federal jail if they touched the bridge. Federal Mac looked them right in the eye and said, you enter my county again, I'm going to put you in my county jail for the rest of your life. They backed down. The bridge was repaired. Everybody's happy. Fuck the federal government if it's abusing its constitutional mandate.
Yeah.
This is powerful stuff. Now, we just added Trent Luce to the campaign. Okay. And Trent Luce is going to be with us. And he looks great in a cowboy hat. He's actually a farmer. And he represents, although we say faith, family, and freedom, the subtext is faith, family, family farms, and freedom. And so Trent Luce is going to be speaking to the need to restore the agrarian village community lifestyle, to restore ethics and face-to-face face-to-face trust. And then we have Lee Dundas, who is a real badass, and her name is spelled D-U-N-D-A-S. Sometimes I make a mistake and I add S because I think of her as Lee Badass. Okay, but she's Lee Dundas. And she's an anti-vaxxer, and I was just told this morning that Dr. Tenpenny and Pam Popper and several others are going to join us in portions of the tour. So the underlying subtext to constitutional counties and faith, family, and freedom is election reform as the public's non-negotiable condition for supporting government again, because everyone has lost trust in federal, state, and local government. Individual and state sovereignty, ending the federal government's right to tax or print money or borrow money. We're going back to county level money that is a portion of the state and then to the thing. And then last but not least, the truth. And we're going to use COVID-19 as the truth teller on this tour. And we're going to pull out 30 to 40 world-class experts going to tell the public the truth. And when we're done, every governor and every mayor that has implemented a lockdown and a mask should be looking at going to jail for the rest of their life for crimes against humanity.
Well, a couple of things. I don't know. I'm getting an echo. Can you hear that?
I can hear the echo, but I'm not going to let it bother me.
Okay, so I just went across country, and this tour is going to do amazing because what I saw going all the way from the north to the south and then turning around and going back, Trump signs everywhere, stuff, flags, billboards, on the sides of buses, on the sides of barns. I mean, not a single Biden, anything. And thousands and thousands of Trump everywhere, all over, literally across the whole United States of America.
I'm a former Marine Corps infantry officer as well as a former CIA spy, although I oppose much of what CIA does these days, and I'm hoping we'll clean that up. But until Donald Trump concedes the election to Joe Biden and tells me that Joe Biden is my commander-in-chief, as far as I'm concerned, Donald Trump is the legally elected president of the United States of America. And I think everything is playing out and God and the angels are on our side. However, I want to make an important point. This tour would not be possible without Donald Trump. He opened the door for my voice to be heard and for Cynthia McKinney and Sheriff Mack and others to be heard. This tour is about beyond Trump and Sanders and others. This tour is about putting the people back in power. Now, I love Donald Trump, and I think Melania Trump is the most elegant first lady we've ever had. And I'm looking forward to either seeing her back in the White House or after we burn the White House down, seeing her in some new White House in Texas or Florida or whatever. But the bottom line here is that this tour is about getting the 70% of the Americans that have been disenfranchised by the two-party tyranny working on behalf of the deep state. It's about getting them back into government. And what that means to me is that in 2022, I want Congress to be 1/5 libertarian, 1/5 independent, 1/5 Sandinista, 1/5 Trumper, and the last fifth can be reformed assholes from the former Democratic and Republican parties.
Okay, I can see that. Well, you're bringing this across the United States. What about the world? Because I have like Norway and England and Germany on here right now. What about international?
Well, Cynthia and I have talked about an international tour, but America first is where we go one, we go all applies not just to the United States, but to the world. And one of the things that has gladdened my heart has been to see demonstrations in favor of Donald Trump from Australia to Nigeria to Zimbabwe. Okay, I mean, when you've got Black people with poor educations and the most desperate circumstances marching in the streets carrying Donald Trump signs, something has changed in the world. And so Cynthia and I are talking about a winter tour to selected countries, and a lot depends on what happens. I mean, I'm not even sure I could enter London, England today without being arrested, because the Queen and the City of London right now are two of my greatest enemies. And I keep telling people, China, Iran, and Russia are not our enemy. Israel and the state of Israel, not the Jewish faith, the state of Israel and the captured government of the UK that works for the City of London, the Rothschilds, and is in league with the Synagogue of Satan and the Vatican, those are the prime enemies and the highest levels of the Freemasons and other secret societies, not the good people down at lower levels. So we are talking about an international tour. The first priority after the United States of America is Australia and Canada. And then I'd like to see Ireland and Scotland. I'd like to see the Commonwealth break up. I think the European Union is going to break up in the next 10 years. And what we want to do in the United States of America is create a bottom-up model. Nassim Nicholas Taleb's book, Anti-Fragile, is a very, very good book. And for those that don't know it, I'm one of the top nonfiction reviewers in the world with over 2,000 reviews at phibetaiota.net under reviews of nonfiction books. And so Taleb in Anti-Fragile and Eleanor Ostrom in Governing the Commons, they both made the case that the only survivable ethical construct for self-governance is local. The locals are the only ones that understand their circumstances. They're the only ones that can police themselves because they're always present and so forth. So localization is the opposite of globalization. We need to smash the federal government back into its very small box. The federal government should not be doing anything that has not been funded by the states, by the 50 sovereign states. No more federal taxation, no more federal printing money, no more federal borrowing from private banks, and basically mortgaging our souls and our future. All right. So this is all about returning power to the local level. And the reason the constitutional sheriffs matter is because there isn't a federal or state force on the planet that can stand up to a local sheriff legally elected who has deputized 5,000 armed, trained veterans who are local.
Well, and Scott Bennett was there, and what's up?
We own the land. You cannot stand up to an organized local community led by a legally elected constitutional sheriff.
Yes, yes. And I was talking about Scott Bennett. I don't know if you ever got the pleasure of meeting him, but that's his.
I've worked with Scott. I've published him in my 9/11 Truth book, which is at tinyurl.com/911-POTUS, POTUS. So what about Scott?
He was just talking about the same thing, going to the local level and just putting it back on the local government to, even with this election fraud, to say, here, you're in charge now, you're looking at the evidence, and this is treason if you don't do something about it. And just asking people to take this PDF to everyone locally and to kind of put it in our responsibility.
I got to tell you, I like Scott, but some of the stuff he publishes is incomprehensible to me. When I look at all these capital letters and all these legalese language, I turn off instantly. Okay. We're actually taking ourselves to the public. There is no one else on the planet that could have pulled off this tour on no notice and then moved it a month ahead of time because Juan OSINT told me to. The other thing is we're bringing solutions to the public. This is not kumbaya hand-holding and telling the local county governments that are corrupt to the bone in most places to do something. We're actually coming to the public and saying, these are the 6 or 7 things you need to do in order to get your life back in order. We're also hauling a tractor behind us painted bright red. It's an analog tractor. Fuck John Deere. It's an analog tractor with no secret software that's really ransomware, and it is going to run on water. We've already tested it. We've got the technology, and right now the technology is proprietary, but I'm hoping it will become public at some point. We are going to have a tractor running on water every single stop.
Well, and I know you got to go, but one last question. This sounds really cool, and I'm excited about it. Tell me about this misinformation, especially as of late with General McAfee talking to David Rodriguez. I don't know if you know anything about it, but apparently it's pretty disturbing interview where he's released, that the military is not in charge and that this is just a giant, whatever. Is this disinformation? Is this just keep people completely mixed up? Is this, like what's really happening? I think everybody is just like, what is really going on? And I know they can't really say, this is what's happening, duh, because then everyone knows. But
McInerney doesn't like me because, number one, he wrote a really piece of shit book multiple years ago about the war on terror. And it was just absolute utter crap that lionized Israel and demonized Iran and didn't have a fucking thing to do with reality. And I normally don't review books that are not worth 4 or 5 stars, but I will occasionally make an exception. And I considered that book by McInerney and another general to be a book written by 2 senile, overweight assholes that never left air conditioning in their lifetime. Okay? Now, that's the backstory. The front story is I think McInerney still has a lot to offer, and I think he is loyal to the president, but I think he's lost it in some cases, and he's out of touch with the inner circle. He and David Steele are kind of their own little patriot camp, and they're kind of wandering around saying, give us money and we're going to do shit. I'm actually putting buses on the road. So from where I sit, McInerney, and I had this conversation with Juan O'Savin. I won't say that we discussed McInerney by name, but I had this conversation with Juan O'Savin. He said, look, Robert, basically a third of the generals don't get it. They're still thinking about their retirement jobs with the military industrial complex. And he says, some individuals don't get that England and Israel are, in fact, the greatest enemy, not China, Iran, and Russia. In fact, I did a cartoon in which you might recognize McInerney, in which he's pointing at the Chinese panda and the Russian bear, saying, look, the threat. And then over here on the side are the Queen of England, the Pope, and George Soros and Bill Gates clapping for McInerney. Okay? So From where I sit, McInerney is a disinformation asset.
Okay.
But I don't know him directly now, and I'm sure he has the best of intentions. And my lawyers always tell me that I need to say, speculatively speaking, subject to additional investigation.
Awesome. Okay. Well, any final words? Besides, I just want to say you look great. It looks like you're taking care of yourself. You look happy. You look relaxed.
7 days a week. I am losing weight. I think my final word is the movies were funded by people donating $1,000 a shot to be co-producers. This tour is being funded by people donating $100 a shot. Every person that donates gets a founding citizen certificate, which they can see at the website, bigbatusa.org. And there are 2 kinds of certificates. There's the Second American Revolution certificate for everyone in the US, and there's the First Global Revolution certificate for everyone internationally. From Australia through Zimbabwe. But we have already raised the $300,000 that we need to make the down payments on the buses and the wraps. I mean, the wraps alone cost $47,000.
Wow.
And that has to be paid in advance. That's $9,500 per bus. And we may be adding a 6th bus for Lee Douglas with 1S. So I have no doubt we're going to raise the money, but we need to raise $10,000 to $15,000 a night from the public. And so this is my first public funding appeal. You're the first person, I think, that I've really discussed Arise USA, the Resurrection Tour. So we're seeking, 250 patriots a night, donating $100 each gives us more than enough money to carry this tour out. And if we end up getting more money than we anticipated, then we will probably do billboards across the country. And these billboards are basically going to out every single member of Congress that is now a tool for Israel and the United Kingdom. They are not representing their constituents.
Well, one of the things I really appreciate you, Robert, is everything that you do, you put out for free. I mean, all your books, everything that you do, it's clear that you're not trying to get something. And in this case of the donation, whether it's the movie or the tour, I just think.
Well, let me also say I'm accounting for every penny. Not only do I account to the board of directors, I'm the only one who's financially and legally liable for this entire tour. Nobody else has financial or legal responsibility. I am the commander in chief for this tour. But I am accountable to Cynthia McKinney, and Cynthia McKinney has already cut half of my private parts off, the North African half. We had an argument a couple of years ago, and so she's a tough broad. You do not mess with Cynthia McKinney. And then I'm accountable to Sheriff Mack. I'm accountable to Lee Dundas. I'm accountable to my business manager, Jimmy Schwinn, who's creating My Patriots Network, which has forums for every county across America. So we're trying to create county level forums. And I'm accountable to the IRS, which I have a perfect rating with the IRS, and I've got a professional CPA on top of all of this. And last but not least, we have a gold star rating with GuideStar, which is the nonprofit overseer. So I'm an open book, and I am planning to compensate the people that are riding the buses, not only the staff and the crew, the guys that are setting up the stages and stuff, but also the people who are giving 3 months of their life to this. Because take the case of Trent and Lee, they're giving up paid speaking engagements. They're having to hire people, in Trent's case, to take care of the farm. So it's not unreasonable as part of the tour to offer 10 or 15,000 a month to the people that are devoting 3 months of their lives to this tour. So I'm being very upfront about that. And my bottom line is, at the end of it, I think we're going to lift America up. We're going to be a catalyst. We're going to be a catalyst for America to come back together. And I'll end with my secret fantasy, okay?
Okay.
So we are in the process of negotiating for this hat with the embroidered eagle, not a pinned eagle, but an embroidered eagle. We're negotiating for this hat to be available for $9.99 in different colors. So I have this dream where Trumpers come wearing this hat in red, and Sandinistas come wearing the hat in blue, and Independents come wearing a white hat, Libertarians a brown hat, Constitutions a gold hat, the Green Party a green hat, and they all come together and they have little red, white, and blue babies.
Yeah, that's a dream, all right. I had a dream.
Make that dream come true, and that's going to be dedicated to Donald Trump and Melania Trump. They are our saviors in so many ways.
Awesome. Well, I am proud of what you're doing. I'm proud to work with you, and I'm going to put all your links so all these people can help and participate in this dream of yours and get
one link, bigbatusa.org. And by the way, the Big Bat concept was invented by Joe Trippi for Howard Dean. Okay. Now, Joe Trippi won't work for me because he thinks I'm a scum-sucking sack of shit Republican asshole, and I'm not.
A mouthful, literally.
Really, I mean, Joe Trippi's a good man, and he's got some good ideas. But what he invented for Howard Dean was the Big Bat. And so every time Cheney, who's a very evil person, Cheney made 9/11 happen. But every time Cheney had a fundraiser with big cats, Joe Trippi would have a Big Bat thing, and he would show how people doing $100 at a time or $25 at a time were matching Cheney dollar for dollar. Okay, so Big Bat USA is the place where we little people can go spend $100 to take our government back, and I'm not asking anybody to spend a dime after that. There are no emails asking people to donate again. You get your certificate. After that, what I want from you is show the fuck up.
Awesome. And I think a lot of people will. I think it's going to be a great success, and I'm glad that you're doing this. I know a lot of other people are going to be glad too, because we miss getting together, that fellowship of just like having a positive, and not having the masks and seeing all these like idiots running around.
We may do mask burnings along the way.
I've seen a few. We actually, when we were driving, there was one in Utah and one in Idaho, just as we were going up. And I'm like,
every governor, beginning with the piece of shit that's in charge of Virginia, every governor is liable to be sent to jail for the rest of their life. It's actually against the law to extend a public health emergency beyond reasonable time limits on the basis of lies. Every governor and every mayor and every county supervisor that has done lockdowns and masks against the Constitution is liable for going to jail for the rest of their fucking lives.
Well, I went to a hospital yesterday, and it made me sad because I know a lot of these people that are working there, and the fear. I mean, literally, one of the ladies who's I thought was super smart, she had on 2 masks, a shield, her coat, she had on gloves, and she used tongs to hand me a pen to sign something that I was supposed to sign. And I was just like, am I in another world? Is this like for real?
You raise an important point. And I've always been about truth and reconciliation, and I'm trying to rise to the love energy level, which is hard, but people like you are helping me. But I got to tell you, it may be time to cull the herd, and the stupid should go first. So I urge every person that believes the government crap, please go get vaccinated. And if you're not sure, get vaccinated twice.
Yeah, and I get that. I also do. But then what about...
Wait. They're going to die.
Or are there going to be some operating system that's going to come later, and we're going to actually have an AI war?
They're going to be sterilized. I think we're going to neutralize the AI part, but they're going to be sterilized. I mean, Bill Gates has been sterilizing women around the world. And Dr. Judy Mikowitz came on my show and said that Black people are particularly being targeted by vaccinations as a Black depopulation method. And that has been CDC's goal from day one. So if you want to get the vaccine, be my guest, because it's going to fuck you up, in my humble opinion.
Yep. Well, I look forward to having you back soon. Hopefully we can get you on here before you tour, and we can talk about it again and maybe raise awareness one more time before you get going.
We're also going to have a broadcast studio bus, and of course I'll be doing tours. I'll be doing interviews from the bus. We're doing about 4-hour legs, and then we check into a hotel every night, and then we're doing free classes in the morning. So there'll be a sheriff's class, there will be a Cynthia McKinney Power Cell class, and then Lee Dundas and I will do our own thing with like Truth for Life classes, round tables. So this is an extraordinary opportunity for anybody that wants to be red-pilled or reinforced in their humanity. We're bringing the gift of life and truth to America, and we will draw energy from all those who come, because the bottom line here is America the Beautiful is back. And frankly, I'm looking at a way to blare the battle hymn of the Republic from the buses as we barrel down the road.
Yes. Awesome. Hey, did you get the picture I sent you of Juan and I in our hands with our rings?
I did.
I was like, I gotta do this and send it to Robert since he's not here, but I thought you would get a kick out of it.
Juan is undercover in his own way, and it's very important to not disclose his identity and not disclose what his face looks like. And I've had this conversation with Juan too. I always used to think I was first string. Now I realize I've been third string. And I said, Juan, I'm so fucking pissed off. You're doing shit up here, and I've been down here thinking that I was up here. He said, Robert, the good news is you're now being looked at by the first string.
Exactly right.
I think the next 20 to 40 years of my life are going to be God's gift to me and my gift to the Republic. And I have to say it again. God bless Donald Trump and the First Lady Melania Trump. They opened this door for all of us.
Awesome. Well, we'll end there. And you guys watching, please do go to the link. I'm going to put it up there. And then also go to swiftfire.org. I got another strike. So if you go to swiftfire.org and get on my newsletter, then no matter where we are, what we're doing, I can make sure that everybody knows what's going on. And I look forward to seeing all of you very soon. And thank you again, Robert. We'll talk soon. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.